Hi everyone, my name is Michael Foley. I'm a certified financial planner and student loan professional as well, and I want to spend some time talking about this new SAVE plan. Everyone's hearing about this stuff on the news, and so figured I'd do a little session just to break down what are all these different changes, what is this new program, how is it different from the old revised pay-as-you-earn plan, and go through some things to be thinking about. Okay, so what is this new SAVE plan? So this is a direct replacement of what is called the revised pay-as-you-earn plan. So the repay plan is what it used to be called, was one of the income-driven repayment options that was kind of like the default for a lot of folks. Offered some interest subsidies, and but it was kind of historically known as the one that wasn't favorable for couples because it didn't allow you to file your taxes separately like some of the other ones out there. But this new SAVE plan, so they call it SAVED, it's a saving on a valuable education. I think the acronym is a little bit of a stretch there, if I'm being honest, but nonetheless, it's better than repay, so we're happy about that. But let's talk about some of the changes. So the big first thing is that it's going to generate some lower payments for people. So they actually changed the calculation of how they determine what is your discretionary income, and it's a little bit different from some of the other plans out there now. And so this is a great option. It's usually going to generate a payment probably 70 to $100 less than some of the other plans. So just because they're changing where the discretionary income level is based on poverty line. So that's a great thing right out the gate. The other thing, a lot of you guys might be seeing, oh, it's 5% of discretionary income to generate our payment instead of the 10%. That's not entirely true. It is if you have only undergraduate loans. But if you have undergrad and graduate loans, like many of our clients, it's not really going to be that big of a difference for you in a payment, because if you have all grad school loans, it's still going to be 10% of your discretionary income. But if you have all undergrad loans, it's going to be 5% of your discretionary income. But then if you have, half and half, it's actually going to be a weighted average of that. So you might be like 7 or 8%. So what I'm just saying is that it's going to be a little bit lower payment than your other options out there. But I wouldn't, go crazy thinking that it's going to be like half of your payment. Okay. The other thing is probably the biggest change in my opinion on this is the interest subsidies that they're offering. So a lot of you guys might be hearing that, oh, we're getting free interest across the board if we sign up for the SAVE plan. Not quite. It is pretty substantial, but it's not just free interest. Okay, so essentially what it is they are removing any possibility for your loan balance to grow if you're enrolled in the SAVE plan. So what that means is that any unpaid interest on a monthly basis gets subsidized. So let's run an example. So let's say you have 300,000 of student loans outstanding. Okay, so we have 300,000 of loans. That might be accruing maybe, let's call it $1,700 a month in interest on that. So we're accruing $1,700 per month in interest once the loans turn back on here. And then let's say we report our income, and based off of the new income, we're generating a payment of like $500 based off our payment and based off our income and our household size. Okay, so we're supposed to pay $500. We're accruing $1,700. So that additional $1,200 that we have there is what's called unpaid interest. So effectively, if we're on the SAVE plan and this is our situation, they would be subsidizing $1,200 per month for you in interest. So that $500 is going right towards your interest. So it's not paying your loan down by any means, but it's limiting your effective interest rate, which is fantastic. So if we're only paying $500 a month on 300,000 of student loans, if you do the math, like that comes out to about a 2% effective interest rate. So it's a phenomenal deal that they're allowing for us here. But it's not just free interest, right? This is something that it's effectively lowering it if your payment based off of your income is less than the accrued interest that is happening on your loans. If you have, let's say you have like a very high income and you're generating a payment based off your income and your household size that is higher than the monthly accrued interest on your loans, this plan is of no benefit to you from an interest standpoint. So I wouldn't get too excited if that is your situation. Okay. Now, we do have some people that can report off of, maybe a tax return, maybe they're going through a transition in income. There's a lot of things that we can look at that we can report based off of a lower income, even if your current income's a little bit higher. So don't completely rule it out just yet. But the other thing is the big component of this is they actually do allow you to file your taxes separately. So if you're a married couple and you don't want to include your spouse's income into your student loan payment, we can actually now have you guys file your taxes separately. And on the SAVE plan, instead of like the old repay plan, would force you to take into your household income take that into consideration for your payment. Now it's really just based off of your income if you guys file your taxes separately. So it opens some new doors so that we could potentially file separately, isolate off of that, and get some interest subsidies. It's looking very favorable for a lot of our clients here. So, you might be asking, okay, should everybody just drop everything and sign up for the SAVE plan? Absolutely not. This is a fantastic plan, but a lot of people might be shooting themselves in the foot if we just go and sign up for it right away. The biggest one is that a lot of people have had over the last 3 years, maybe had some income increases that they haven't reported yet. And so if you were already on an income-driven repayment plan prior to all of this, your payment might be based off of an income from like 3 years prior now. So if we just go rush into the SAVE plan, you're going to have to report your most recently completed tax return or your current income, depending on which one you report. And therefore, it might actually raise your payment before you actually need to report your income, because current guidelines state that the earliest someone would need to report their income is 6 months after the loans turn back on. So 6 months after October of 2023, that's when the earliest that anyone would need to report their income if they were already previously on an income-driven repayment plan. So look at what your anniversary date is. Some of our clients, they maybe had an anniversary date that fell within that 6-month period. And, maybe they're in January of 2023 or January 2024 is their anniversary date. But since that falls within that 6-month guideline, they're going to boot it out to January of 2025 now. So, so you might be able to keep a pretty low payment for quite some time. Whereas if we just jumped right into the SAVE plan, that might, allow you to have a higher payment or force you to have a higher payment sooner than needed. So don't just rush right into it and report that income earlier, okay? The other thing is there are some clients that are maybe tracking for not, any of the shorter term plans like the public service loan forgiveness or just paying it off, but they're instead going for what we call the long-term taxable forgiveness. And if we're going the long route on this, then, there's it's a 25-year repayment as opposed to a 20-year on some of the other plans. And so, I wouldn't necessarily just jump ship too, because they are getting rid of this, the other plan called a pay-as-you-earn plan. They're actually getting rid of it, and that's a 20-year option. So it's going to be something that, if you're already on the pay-as-you-earn, that's something that we might not want to jump ship into the SAVE plan. It might make sense financially to actually, stay on a 20-year track instead of the 25-year track. But I'll got to kind of break down the math on that, okay? So the last people that, this could really, benefit though is, a lot of these people that are just needing to just pay off their loans. And, maybe you're not going for any forgiveness plan. You're not going for the long term. You're not working at a nonprofit, going for the public service or anything. We can actually, if we can report a low enough income, even if you're making a lot more money now, we might be able to get a year or maybe 2 years, depending on how the income's split up, of reporting an artificially low income and effectively dropping your interest rate. So everyone talks about, oh, hey, can we refinance to a bank to get a lower interest rate? Well, now if we can play the federal loan game of reporting your income based off your most recently completed tax return, as long as it's within the last 2 years, now we can really open up the doors for getting a lower interest rate. So that's just something that, it's a Band-Aid, but maybe we can put money into a savings account on the side, just make the minimum payment to the federal government. And, if you're in that situation where you have the $300,000 of loans, we're saving $1,200 a month. that's real money, especially if you're paying these loans off. So definitely some food for thought to be thinking about. So I hope this gives you a better idea of how the SAVE plan works, who it's beneficial for, who it's not, and really kind of gives you some more clarity in all this craziness going on in the student loan world. So thanks so much for taking the time, and we'll hope to see you in a future session.